Look, I'm not an architect. I almost was, but that dream died junior year in college. I'm also not some industry insider or design expert. I don't know anyone that would say I'm salty either. I'm just a guy who's been playing Star Citizen for almost a decade and somehow ended up with a fleet big enough to supply an entire org. If that resume qualifies me to talk about ship design, then join me, and let's get into the RSI Salvation. Star Citizen's been my on-again, off-again obsession for 9 years. I'd jump in heavy with each big patch, get swept up in the hype, then vanish for 6 months until something new pulled me back. Somewhere in that cycle, I collected more ships than I know what to do with, and half the time, I'm not sure what my plan is other than keeping every gameplay door open for the future. And honestly, I don't regret a dollar of it because the excitement this game gives me still hits harder than most releases today. So when I tell you that a tiny single-seat starter ship is the most exciting thing I've seen in years, that's not hyperbole. Up until 2 weeks ago, I barely knew the Salvation existed. Now it's firmly lodged in my fleet because it caught my attention in a way big ships haven't in a long time. The design grabbed me first, sleek but with an industrial flair, compact but wholly complete. It looks like everything RSI has been doing with their newer ships delivered in a smaller package. In fact, this silhouette would translate perfectly into a fighter variant, and knowing CIG, we'll probably see that RSI light fighter based on this chassis eventually. And I'm here for it. I love the look. It's giving Mass Effect shuttle energy without looking like it's about to be shot down over Eden Prime. The Salvation feels like RSI's finally nailed smaller ship design after the absolute mess that is the original Aurora, seriously. Thank Chris for that correction. It's got that clean silhouette, but the edges are sharper, the surfaces are more purposeful, and everything about the form suggests efficiency without slipping into that flying appliance look industrial ships can all too easily become. It has personality. When I look at it, I just want to fly it. And for a starter ship, that's very rare. Most starters feel disposable, like stepping stones you tolerate until you can move on to something real, something you desire. The Salvation, much like the Crusader Intrepid, breaks that mold. It feels like something you choose rather than something you're forced into. The cockpit visibility is excellent, the proportions feel right, and the lack of interior still gives you something to aspire towards if that type of progression is your jam. But here's the part that really hooked me. This ship doesn't try to be more than it is. It's not pretending to be a fighter like the Mustang Alpha, and searching for combat it can't really survive. It knows exactly what lane it lives in and executes on that with confidence. I respect that. Too many ships in Star Citizen suffer from an identity crisis. They want to appeal to everyone and end up appealing to no one. And further, they're barely competent in their intended role. The Salvation avoids that trap. It's a salvaging ship first and foremost, and it handles that very well. It's also a personal transport ship if you want it to be. I took it from Orison to Nyx and enjoyed the hell out of the ride. And lastly, when you've moved on from using it as a salvage ship because you've leveled up to bigger and better things, it's a very small freighter with 6 SCU cargo capacity. Sure, you're probably laughing right now at the idea of 6 SCU. I get it, that's glove box storage. But here's the thing, just like in EVE Online, the stuff that actually matters isn't moved in big risky hauls. It's moved in small, controlled runs where losing even one box would ruin your week. The Salvation fits that role perfectly. It's lean, it's fast, it's hard to spot, and it lets you move high-value cargo without painting a giant target on your back. You're not going to dump your cargo at the first sign of an Imperial patrol. You're not even on their radar, Han. And look, I know I'm kind of burying the lead, but this ship isn't going to rely on CIG's FOMO, method of ship sales. It's going to be available all the time and cheaply in-game as well. That's a win for players. I've partnered with the Impound because I don't believe that you should have to wait for the biannual sales to get the ships you want. They're a trusted gray market site run by the same guy that used to run CIG's Pledge Store. And if you want to pick up a rare paint that's not sold anymore, or complete the CCU chain you've been working on, they've got your back. I pick my sponsors based on reputation and the Impound is solid. You wouldn't believe how many emails I get about vacuum cleaners and portable batteries. Being on YouTube is wild. And maybe that's why it hit me so hard. After years of giant releases like the Polaris and Perseus, and of course the Kraken concept with its look at this floating space mall energy, seeing something small, sharp, and well-defined felt refreshing. I'm not going to sit here and rattle off hard points, components, or whatever flavor of the month stat people obsess over. I fucking hate that. The The game changes too fast, and half the component system is getting rebuilt anyway. None of that matters to me. If you buy a ship because you love how it looks, you're going to be happy with it long term. That's been true in Star Citizen, and it's been true in my real life. My Toyota 4Runner makes me smile every time I look at it, as did the 3000 GT I had before that. If there's one piece of advice I can give you, it's follow your heart. Pick the ship that sparks something in you, and you'll never regret it. I think the real-life term for that is emotional horsepower. Now, is it going to change how you play the game? Oh, Chris, no. Is it going to dethrone your favorite ship? Probably not either. But could it give new and even veteran players a stylish, capable, and genuinely enjoyable ship instead of a flying shoebox? Absolutely. And for veteran players like me who've been around long enough to have emotional scars from early game starter misery, that alone makes this thing worth owning. This ship feels like a promise that starters can be good, and that design doesn't need to be bloated or compromised to be interesting. It reminds me of why I fell in love with the idea of Star Citizen in the first place. Ships with character, ships with purpose, ships that make you want to go exploring just because sitting in the cockpit feels right. The Carrack was my first love in Star Citizen. The MSR was my second. Both disappointed me, but the Salvation hasn't, yet. We're still in the honeymoon phase, like booting up Mass Effect 1 for the first time and thinking, yeah, every one of my decisions is going to matter in the end. And the Salvation highlights something CIG occasionally forgets. Ships don't need to be massive to be meaningful. There's a purity here that hits in a way most modern releases don't. With the bigger ships, you're always thinking about logistics, crew, refuel routes, interior paths, power management, whatever loop that ship was built for. With the Salvation, you get something simpler. You get to just fly. And honestly, that's a part of Star Citizen that's easy to overlook. We get so wrapped up in progression that we forget what it feels like to simply enjoy the act of taking off, skimming atmosphere, hitting the jump gate into Pyro or Nyx, and letting the stars fill the canopy. The Salvation reminded me I don't always need to be grinding a loop. I don't have to micromanage a miniature space station. Sometimes I just want to hop in something small and reliable, run a mission, salvage a wreck, or take a quiet drift through a nebula at 3 in the morning. Not every ship needs to be a lifestyle commitment. What surprised me most was how the Salvation handles. It doesn't feel industrial, it reacts quickly without being twitchy, and accelerates in a way that feels proportional to its mass. But of course that's going to change when mass becomes a thing. I look forward to seeing how much different a fully loaded ship handles comparatively. And we need to talk about the salvage role because it's easy to underestimate how valuable it is to have a ship that can slip into that gameplay loop without the usual multi-crew friction. You see, to get the most out of the Vulture, you usually need multiple people, one guy handling the cargo operations, offloading hoppers, and taking it back to market while multiple Vultures continue scavenging. Sure, you can just solo a Vulture, but what I just described is optimal efficiency. The Salvation lets you get your hands dirty without committing to a Vulture or a full salvage op. It's immediate. It's personal. You can fly somewhere, crack open a wreck, clean it out, and get paid without having to coordinate with anyone or babysit a giant hull. It has that same energy the Prospector used to have when mining felt new, back before everything turned into industrial spreadsheets, and if I'm honest, I don't even know what's valuable anymore mineral-wise. The damn world keeps changing. The Salvation gives a taste of bigger gameplay without requiring you to become a foreman. If the Salvation is the direction RSI is heading, focused, intentional, character-driven design, then I'm fully on board and even more excited for the RSI Galaxy. I'd rather have more ships with identity than another parade of bloated do-everything bricks. The Salvation is honest. It knows what it is. And it made me want to play the game more, which is the highest compliment I can give any ship. But that's just my opinion. Now it's your turn. Do you like the Salvation, or have I lost my damn mind? Let me know. If you made it this far, you're already one of the crew, so get subscribed because there's so much more to talk about. If you'd like to support the channel further, there's the join button or my referral link to the impound in the description. I'd like to thank my channel members, as they directly keep me flying. Seriously, you guys rock. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the verse.